Hi guys, welcome to Into the Dark Blue. My name is Pierre Zam. I'm a psychiatrist and professional coach for men. Tonight I'm drinking Monk in the Trunk by Inlet Brewing Company down here in Jupiter, Florida. Tonight's Dark Blue is all about building emotional awareness. We want to invite conversation about how to cultivate awareness to our inner experiences and specifically to our feelings. The words that we use to describe emotions and the context in which we experience them. Emotions like sadness, surprise, despair, disgust, anger, and joy. It's rare that we men get the invitation to name and acknowledge these experiences. It's more common that we feel compelled to suppress them. And sometimes we don't even have access to them. The inability to access words to describe emotions might be so common in men that it's considered normative. That is, it's expected to impact more guys than not. It's an experience called alexithymia. Doesn't mean that we men don't experience the full range of emotions. We definitely do. But in many cases, we've been socialized to hide or to minimize, to ignore or to power through them. Sometimes that's beneficial to getting the job done, but more often these emotions lurk unrecognized, and then they show themselves unexpectedly. They might emerge at inopportune times or ways that undermine our intentions. Maybe it's in a bout of anger, or a dig at someone, or a comment that we didn't really mean. Those moments might even take us by surprise. And so how do we unhook these emotions from their grasp, perhaps even harness them for good? In my experience, that is not accomplished by trying to judge or eliminate or squash or change emotions. It's built quite simply by getting curious and staying aware to how they show up for you. Often they're present for a reason. They may be trying to tell you something. Sometimes they've got nothing to do with the situation at hand. And when you give them permission, without judgment, they pass. Acknowledging and working through emotions plays a huge role in overcoming hardship. And it starts with inviting awareness to how these experiences emerge and to how they evolve, particularly in our hearts and in our bodies. Even when we may not find the right word to describe our emotions, we might be able to recognize the experiences in our bodies. We might notice fullness in our bellies, openness in our chests, or warmth or heat in our extremities. We may be aware to the quickness of our heart, the shallowness of our breath, the numbness in our fingers, or heaviness in our eyes. Building consciousness to our emotions begins quite simply by allowing ourselves to become aware to these bodily experiences, to acknowledge and name them, and then to communicate them. In this process, you might also recognize when you may be adding an element of judgment, a layer of interpretation or blame to these emotional experiences. Those are not inherently part of the emotions themselves. They may be just thoughts that our brains use to try to make sense of things. Beware, too, the inclination to describe feelings in terms of thoughts. It's not uncommon to say, I feel, and then follow that up with a thought rather than an actual feeling. Some examples might be, I feel like I have too much to do, or I feel unproductive, or I feel stupid. Those are thoughts and judgments. On the other hand, the actual emotions are described in words like sadness, or love, or fear, surprise, or joy, or anger. So pay attention to what your body experiences and communicates. You might notice energy in your posture, your face, your neck and shoulders, in your chest or your gut, or even your extremities. And in the process, you can begin to gain an appreciation for the associated emotion. As you start tonight's Dark Blue discussion, we want to encourage open dialogue around emotional awareness. So we want to invite you to consider how to change the conversation around emotions and to answer the following questions. First, what are some ways that we can be more aware of our emotions? Second, what emotions are you experiencing right now in the moment? And remember to be aware of when you might be using thoughts or judgments. If you have trouble finding the right word, you can start with some primary emotions like happy or sad or angry or surprised. And then how do you know you've got this emotion? Put in other words, what are the experiences that you're coding as this emotion? And finally, what challenges do you face when naming your own emotions? Thank you for joining us, and cheers. Pretty good.